Welcome to the MLS Show. It is MLS Weekly News with me, Baz. I say weekly, I haven't done it for a couple of weeks due to work commitments, but here I am. I am back with what has been a big week in Major League Soccer. The only place for me that we can really start is with a club that I follow, Orlando City. What a turbulent week it has been in the Orlando City history so far. Unprecedented move on Wednesday night. They decided to sack manager Adrian Heath. Orlando have been a little bit hit and miss this season, but for me, they were still only a couple of games, a couple of victories away from getting deep into them playoff positions. And I can't help but be disappointed by the decision. Obviously, I'm an Evertonian as well. I love Adrian Heath. But I just think, for me, it was, if they'd have done it in October, November, you go, well, they want to make a change, but they've left it into the season. And like I say, it just doesn't feel right to me. Decided to remove him after a 4-0 defeat on Monday night at Dallas. Disappointed, very disappointed. Obviously, this organisation now wants to move forward. It wants to win MLS Cups. That's what it wants to do. And it's decided to take a different direction. I'm quite sure it was a difficult decision to remove Adrian Heath from his post. He has been in the fabric of this club, in the fabric of Orlando City. He moved from Austin to Orlando and helped set the club up. Done very, very well at USL. Won all kinds of cups and leagues and trophies. So I think Adrian won't have a problem getting another job. I shouldn't imagine. I think his CV will be good enough. And a little bit more on Adrian Heath later. Another part of the Orlando story, really, that's been quite a bumpy one over the last week, is the loss of Adrian Winter. He has opted to return back to Switzerland. It was cited for family reasons. A real blow this to Orlando City because he's been fantastic so far this season for Orlando. He has gone back to Switzerland. He signed with FC Zurich in Switzerland. One of the family reasons was the fact that his fiancée couldn't get a visa to move into Orlando with him. Is this, do MLS have to conquer? Listen, I know it's a bigger thing. It's talking about, rules and regulations of the United States, but that to me seems a little bit bizarre. If it's Adrian Winter's partner, he's a footballer, he's there on a working visa, then for me, like it does in England here, like it does here, players come over, the families come over, they're just granted a working visa, that it's all done and dusted. There's not any uncertainty about whether the partner can come in or he can't come in. If that's the case, then it's something for me that MLS needs to look at, because it's a problem. It's a problem if you're getting players from the four corners of the globe and their families can't come with them for whatever reason. That will be a problem going forward, as far as I can see. Anyway, on to the football. Orlando City did play last night. I say play, yeah, it wasn't a very good game. I was up till the early hours of the morning watching it. I thought it was a really poor performance. I don't doubt the fact that the players ran around. I don't doubt the fact that they didn't work hard, but it was a terrible performance. They looked devoid of all ideas. There was no excitement in the final third. Of course, they were missing Kaka. I've seen people on Twitter before, some people saying they weren't bothered he was out. Are you insane? He is a key to the works for Orlando City. Kevin Molino done an okay job in the hole, but for me, he's better wide. Kyle Larin just looked isolated. Darwin Sheren playing almost as a right winger. Never worked. It was a pathetic move, that. Really, really disappointing. Both goalkeepers made a couple of good saves. In particular, Tyler Derrich for Houston Dynamo. I thought he made some outstanding saves. Giles Barnes nearly won it late on. He hit a post. But all in all, it was a poor game. A 0-0 draw. And the fans let interim manager Bobby Murphy know at the end that they weren't happy at all. He got involved in some exchanges and apparently said, "You don't know how to watch soccer." Bobby, that is a very, very dangerous thing to say to supporters. These people who are putting their hands in their pockets and coming and standing and supporting Orlando City. they feel as though there's been big changes this week and the club has moved a little bit away from what it was. We know Phil Rawlins is still a massive part of Orlando City and he needs to remain a massive part of Orlando City. Otherwise, for me, it loses what it's all about. But Bobby Murphy, swerve those shouts of you don't know how to watch football. They are the supporters and they're entitled to their opinion. And on to that also, Noticiero, who has been nothing short of a disaster for Orlando City this season. He's been shocking every game I've seen him in. He decided to have an argument with the supporters as well. Allegedly, some expletives were used. This is not what Orlando City's about. And it's a bad end to a bad week for me as far as I'm concerned. But I'm going to be going more into that on the MLS show next week. I'm going to get back in the studio with Ped. We'll also have Chris Pajak as well. We're going to do a little bit of an Orlando special when we just look at this, when I get other people's views as well as my own on that. So any Orlando City fans watching this, look out for that, our Orlando City special, which will be out next week. Okay, moving on to a couple of transfer stories this week involving both New York clubs. New York Red Bulls have traded Lloyd Sam to DC United for general allocation money. For me, a shock. I think it was a little bit more of a shock to Lloyd Sam, who didn't know anything about it. Got a phone call to pack his bags, you're off to DC. A strange one for me. This is the one bit about Major League Soccer I will never get. I realise that the players are signed to the league and they can be shipped here, there and everywhere. I'm thinking that, and what I'm reading is that it was a decision taken above Jesse Marsh's head. But, you know, for me, it's a shocking one because Lloyd Sam is always a threat for New York Red Bulls. He's always an outball. He creates goals. He's a little bit of a, you know, defenders have a torrid time with him. He works very, very hard. He's very, very popular in the New York Red Bulls dressing room. So for me, it's one of those that doesn't really make sense. Sorry, I've just dropped something. It's one of those that doesn't really make any sense to me. But it's done. DC United will be delighted to get him. I know that Lloyd Sam has said he met Ben Olsen. Ben Olsen is very, very positive, was wanted to get him involved immediately. And I think it will give DC United a great little outlet on that right-hand side. But Lloyd Sam, very disappointing. Dax McCarthy tweeted his disappointment, as did Bradley Wright Phillips, both upset to see Lloyd Sam leaving New York Red Bulls. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Good move or bad move by Red Bulls? Will he be missed? Will Lloyd Sam be missed? Any DC fans watching, are you happy that Lloyd Sam is off to your club? Obviously, Lloyd Sam has lost his game time. Alex Mueller's been in, young Alex Mueller's been playing in this position, and he's been doing well. Don't get me wrong, he's been doing well at the games that I've seen him, but I just think that Lloyd Sam was still had something to offer Red Bulls, but he's moved on to DC United. And another player which has upset the fans, this time for the blue half of New York, Poku. Poku has been transferred to Miami FC for $750,000. New York City fans, what I've seen, up in arms over this, very disappointed. Poku, real live wire, real strong runner with the ball. He's hit and miss because that's what he is, but he's gone off to Miami FC. Very good for him. Reported wages for him at New York City was around $68,000 a year. Apparently he can earn up to $500,000 now with Miami FC. So not bad work on a personal level, but disappointing that, you know, obviously Patrick Vieira didn't feel as though he could trust him. But, you know, I think Poku will be back in MLS. I think he'll go and get more game time, get a bit more experience with Miami FC, and who knows, if Beckham ever lands in Miami, maybe he'll make a transition there. But that is Poku transferred from New York City to Miami FC. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Is it a good move or a bad move by New York City? Also on the Lloyd Sam thing, let me know in the comment section below. Sticking with New York City, young midfielder Jack Harrison has won the MLS Player of the Week. He's been in excellent form this season with Patrick Vieira's men. He's been up and down that left-hand side. Such a strong runner with the ball. Scored in the New York derby last weekend, of course. Just looks a real threat, doesn't he? Talk that England under-19s are looking at him now. So he's kind of making enough headlines. He's got himself fit. He's getting in there. David Villa, Andrea Pirlo, Patrick Vieira, all full of praise for the young Englishman. There's been talk about, like I've just said, about the England under-19s. Does he want to represent England? Apparently, Jack has said that he'd consider representing the United States men's national team also, because, you know, he'd love to play for them one day, which of course he could do. He's been there since he was 14 years of age, I believe. So in a few more years, he can apply for citizenship, and then that will obviously enable him to play for the USA. It'll be a decision he has to make, and I'm quite sure if he keeps developing the way he is, it'll be a decision that, you know, it's going to be a tough one for him, because it'll mean that England are probably interested in him as well. But Jack Harrison has been in excellent form this season for New York City, and for me, thoroughly deserves the Player of the Week award he has been given this week. Okay, another little bit of transfer news this weekend. Vancouver Whitecaps have transferred Octavio Rivero. He has gone to Chilean club Colo Colo. Octavio started off like a house on fire, didn't he, when he went into Whitecaps? I think he had 5 goals in his first 6 appearances for Vancouver. He looked really good last season. He's ended up with 12 goals in 48 games. His form dropped right off for the Caps towards the end. And they've decided to move him on. Obviously frees up another space for them. They'll be looking now at, of course, the MLS transfer window open. They'll be looking to replace Rivero and his goals. But Octavio Rivero off to Chilean club Colo Colo. Atlanta United, they are starting to make waves now, beginning to fill up their roster. Lots of stuff coming out as they move towards MLS. They have apparently sold more than 31,000 season ticket deposits. More expected to follow. It's an incredible amount already, isn't it, for a team that hasn't kicked the ball in MLS. Reading between the lines, reading a lot of articles like I have this week, reading a lot of fan reaction, people thinking that potentially they could be the Portland Timbers of the East Coast. You know, good fan base, lots of people getting involved. The lights nearly went on. Lots of people getting involved in Atlanta United. It's going to be very, very interesting. They will, of course, strike up a little bit of a rivalry with Orlando City, albeit 440 odd miles between the two. But it will certainly strike up that kind of rivalry. One other way to kind of crank that rivalry up would be if Adrian Heath ended up at Atlanta United. Now, he may well do so. Inchi, of course, has been relieved of his duties this week at Orlando City. He brings with him the experience. He's got the experience, of course, of managing in MLS for the last kind of 18 months. And of course, one link up is he may make with Paul McDonough, who used to be, he was the former general manager at Orlando City. He is now at Atlanta United. So people kind of putting 2 and 2 together. But, you know, Inchi, I think he'd be a really, really good choice, bringing that wealth of experience with him. I don't think he's going to have a problem getting a job. But Atlanta United could do worse. Great fan base, like Orlando City. Good fans get behind the club. And it's, you know, fantastic for them. And I think Adrian Heath, it's not a bad shout, actually. A couple of reporters, I know Paul Tenorio has said that he feels as though Adrian Heath could end up at Atlanta. So watch this space, I guess. They're also, this week, Atlanta starting to fill out their roster now. They have signed former Wigan and Burnley midfield player Chris McCann. He now follows us on Twitter. Welcome, Chris. And they're also in talks with Mexican striker Andres Guardado, who is a 29-year-old striker plying his trade with PSV Eindhoven in Holland. He is reportedly thinking over a move to Atlanta. So things beginning to speed up now, beginning to take that momentum as Atlanta moves towards MLS. Okay, one really, really interesting piece of news this week, and this will be something I'll discuss on the show with the lads next week, is Twitter are apparently talking to MLS about streaming rights. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to do it in terms of streaming matches, because there's all kinds of subscriptions tied in and everything else. It may be about pre and post match content, which they can put, you know, straight out. But just when you think of it, I know they're talking to NBA, they're talking to the baseball, you know, and they've already apparently bought 10 games from NFL. So, they are very much into the streaming. They realise how big, how powerful a tool that can be. I think for MLS, it can be an incredible tool. Even if it is just to start, pre-game content, post-game content, just because of how that can be bounced around the internet and to create that awareness. If they can then start to put games on there or a half or whatever it may be, obviously there's a lot of hurdles to overcome, in terms of doing that. But just imagine how the reach that would have. It'd be absolutely incredible. I will bring that to the table next week with Ped and Chris when we're in the studio, and we'll try and look at that a little bit more. But it's certainly a very interesting one. I know that New York Red Bulls have done some stuff with Facebook Live and their games, which was very popular. So who knows? Final piece of news. I'm not going to go into any depth with it, but Jurgen Klinsmann has been linked with the England job. Currently managing the United States men's national team, of course, linked with the England job. That, again, is something me, Chris and Ped will discuss in the studio. That's all your news for this week. Give us a follow, give us a like on Facebook, tell your mates, get everyone watching, give us the thumbs up, get involved in Major League Soccer. I've been Baz, and I'll catch you next week on the MLS Show. That's what it wants to do, and it's decided to take a different direction. I'm quite sure it was a difficult decision to remove Adrian Heath from his post. He has been in the fabric of this club, in the fabric of Orlando City. He moved from Austin to Orlando and helped set the club up. Done very, very well at USL, won all kinds of cups and leagues and trophies. So I think Adrian won't have a problem getting another job, I shouldn't imagine. I think his CV will be good enough. And a little bit more on Adrian Heath later. Another part of the Orlando story, really, that's been quite a bumpy one over the last week, is the loss of Adrian Winter. He has opted to return back to Switzerland. It was cited for family reasons. A real blow, this, to Orlando City, because he's been fantastic so far this season for Orlando. He has gone back to Switzerland. He signed with FC Zurich in Switzerland. One of the family reasons was, welcome to the MLS Show. It is MLS Weekly News with me, Baz. I say weekly, I haven't done it for a couple of weeks due to work commitments, but here I am. I am back with what has been a big week in Major League Soccer. The only place for me that we can really start is with a club that I follow, Orlando City. What a turbulent week it has been in the Orlando City history so far. For me, it was, if they'd have done it in October, November, you go, well, they want to make a change, but they've left it into the season, and like I say, it just doesn't feel right to me. Decided to remove him after a 4-0 defeat on Monday night at Dallas. Disappointed, very disappointed. Obviously, this organisation now wants to move forward. It wants to win MLS Cup. Unprecedented move on Wednesday night. They decided to sack manager Adrian Heath. Orlando have been a little bit hit and miss this season, but for me, they were still only a couple of games, a couple of victories away from getting deep into them playoff positions. And I can't help but be disappointed by the decision. Obviously, I'm an Evertonian as well. I love Adrian Heath. But I just think